guys, welcome back to another episode of Chats from the Blog Cabin. Today, I'm extremely honored that Nicole Phillips is joining me. I met Nicole back in October, November when you came and spoke at an event here in Goldsboro, and I just immediately embraced how she embraces kindness. So, Nicole, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi. Well, thank you, Melissa. I have to tell you, I'm all jazzed up from that music at the beginning. That opening, I love it. I want that. That's so cool. Who created that for you? Did you do that?
I did that myself. Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Wow, you are a woman of many talents. I love it. That's fantastic. And, I was grateful you already gave me a tour around your blog cabin, because I feel like what an honor to be able to have a spot where we can sit and chat and, hopefully add a little fun and joy to other people's day as well.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about yourself. I mean, I already introduced you, but tell us what your kindness is all about, how you got into this.
Yeah, so when I look at my life, I kind of look back over my shoulder at a totally different woman. About 9 years ago, I was on the edge of what anyone would call an alcoholic. And so I was a drinker and a smoker and an overeater, and I was angry, just really had a lot of pent up anger inside of me, angry at my husband a lot of the time. And, I just felt like I was striving so hard to find my purpose and striving so hard to just kind of step into my peace and my place in the world. And I couldn't find it. And it was frustrating. And so I had an interaction with a young mom, and I ended up giving her some money, which was kind of out of character for me, I guess. A little bit. It was, she was a total stranger. And, but I had this great feeling, this super high, unlike anything I had gotten from any bad decision I had made. And I thought, wow, what is this? And so I kind of started to chase after that. And I started to look for kindness around me, either kindness that I was doing or that was happening to me or that I was witnessing through other people. And I, at about that time, had gotten a call from the publisher of our local newspaper in Fargo, North Dakota, and he wanted me to write a column for a new section of the paper. And I said, okay, but can I write about kindness? And can I have people send in their stories of kindness? And it was a wild ride, because within 1 year of writing weekly about kindness and being really systematic and really intentional about it, my entire life changed. I totally quit drinking. I quit smoking. I lost 30 pounds. I fell in love with my husband. And it was, I haven't looked back since. This balloon has just kept growing.
And you've taken those columns and put them into books, like The Gold Bikini Girl was the girl that you were talking about, that encounter. It's the very first one in your Kindness is Contagious. As you can see, I've already bookmarked a lot of them.
I love that.
On Saturday. So, and it had, actually, I don't know if you knew this, but you actually, when I received the book, it was actually on my birthday. So you actually did kindness and you didn't even know it. Because but it actually came on my birthday. So that was an extra birthday present for me.
Oh, I love it when those things fall in line like that. I love that. Oh, I'm so glad. Happy birthday.
Right, thank you. Now, you have more than one book, right?
So we took the columns from the newspaper and we put them in a first book, which is the one you held up. That's called Kindness is Contagious. And 100 Stories to Remind You God is Good, and so are most people. And then people seem to enjoy those stories. And they said, I kind of like to read some more. So then we put another 100 stories because now I've written for 9 years that column. And so that second book is, it looks a lot like the blue book, except it's red, and it's called Kindness is Courageous, 100 Stories to Remind You People Are Brave and Kind. And those two books I self-published. And the third book that will come out September 1st is called The Negativity Remedy, Unlocking More Joy, Less Stress, and Better Relationships Through Kindness. And that is published by Baker Publishing. And so that's my new baby, because the first two are stories just to remind you that there's so much kindness happening in the world. But book 3 is to remind you that the negativity remedy is really each one of us. We're the way to break through the negativity, and it starts in our mind. So it's kind of more of a how-to book.
Yeah, I remember when you spoke in Goldsboro last October, November, you were talking about the white dot, no, the black dot and all the white space around it and what we focus on. If we focus on that one black mark, and that's all we're going to focus on. But if we focus on all that white space, your life is going to change.
Did you notice after that you could say to yourself, this is a black dot or this is the white space? Mm-hmm. Were you able to take any of that home?
Yes, totally. I mean, I actually wrote a blog post about attending the event and how much I got out of the event.
Oh, good. I'm glad, because sometimes just being able to name those negative things in our lives as, yeah, I see it, I'm naming it, it's a black dot, but it doesn't deserve all the attention. It's not going to get all the attention, So sometimes just to name it helps us to kind of park it in another spot.
Yeah, because honestly, people that don't know me don't know that I suffer from really bad anxiety in speaking. And I started this as a challenge. I was in with a mindset coach because trying to change my mindset. And I started this Chats from the Blog Cabin as a challenge, and never knowing when I bought the blog cabin and converted it to just an office for blogging that I would end up hosting shows from it.
Wow. Like, that gives me chills, just the possibilities that can be, when your mind snaps into a better place. Watch out, world. And I just feel like, especially for women, when we stop being afraid of our own shadow, we stop being afraid of other people's shadows, watch out, because that's when we can step into power and really make big changes in this world for good.
Yeah. So you also have a podcast called the Kindness Podcast. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. Well, the Kindness Podcast I usually do from, behind a closed screen. So it's, it's an audio, 20-minute podcast. And I look for people with intriguing kindness stories. So some people are, the person down the street who just had a really neat kindness experience. And then, like last season, we had Jason Mraz, who's a singer, whose new album is called Look for the Good. And so I go back and forth between people who other people might know, and then people who just are so refreshing in their views on kindness that those stories have to be shared.
Yeah, I know. One of the things I do in December is I give back and as a legacy for my dad. My dad was a really big person. He always taught us how to give back to the community. My grandmother was blind, and so he was really involved with the Lions Club. He was involved in the military, the veterans, and he died exposure to Agent Orange. So I always make sure I give back to the troops during that time and telling people it's in the memory of my dad. He's a really avid reader, so I try to give back to children and other, free libraries by donating all the books that I get. I don't think I'm donating yours, though. I think I'm keeping yours as a...
You can donate it. Just think of all the light it will shine on someone else once you're done with it. It's okay.
Yeah. But, but this may be too good of a gem. I may end up buying one and donating it.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
It's not that I don't want to donate it. It's just I want to keep a copy for myself, because it's so uplifting. The stories in there are so uplifting, especially if you're having a bad day.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really my thought with it, was when I put the first two books together with those 100 stories, I knew how drastically my life changed. Oh, I have a 70-pound golden doodle upstairs. Can you hear her? Her name is Dakota, and she's making an appearance. It's funny because I don't know if you can hear all this, but now I can hear my 10-year-old going, do, 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 do. He's running to grab the dog because, we're all working from home, right? So he's running to grab the dog. And because I said, please try to keep Dakota quiet. And so whatever, if you hear that, I apologize. But
you're good.
I noticed such a drastic difference when I was really intentional about looking for kindness every day. And, I thought if people could read these stories once a day, almost like a daily devotional, or, if they're having a bad day, they could just sit down and read 2 or 3 of them. They're like 3 minutes a piece. I wondered if maybe they would have the same sort of life transformation that I had, and that their perspective would start leaning more toward going first to kindness and second to being offended or things like that. And that's really what I found with it, is that if you can start your day or end your day, or at some point in your day, find the kindness, it changes your brain. And science does show us that we actually are creating new pathways in our brain every single day based on how we react today. That's trains our brain on how we're going to react tomorrow.
That is so true. And I've heard that by more than one person. So that definitely, that's hitting home with me. And, you know, they say when you repeat something over and over and you hear it over and over and over again, that's God's way of telling you, hey, listen, pay attention.
Yep. Yep. It usually takes a 2x4 for me, you know, like, hello.
But now let's talk a little bit about how you got into the writing and everything, because I know that you're a breast cancer survivor, correct? Mm-hmm. And so that kind of was a turning point as well, wasn't it?
It was. So the first turning point was really in 2011 when I started writing the kindness column. And thank goodness I had changed my perspective and my brain had kind of changed in that time period, because by the time I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2015, I was coming at the breast cancer from a totally different viewpoint than I would have a few years before that. So meaning, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I knew immediately that if I was going to go through this, there was some good that was going to come out of it for someone else. This was going to be an act of kindness for someone else who needed to hear my story. And so I started blogging daily at that point. Usually I blog once a week, but I started blogging daily at that point. And initially it was to keep my friends and family kind of up to date on what was happening, because breast cancer takes a lot out of you. And I didn't have to go through the radiation or the chemotherapy. I just did the surgeries, a mastectomy, and then several follow-up surgeries. And so even just that part of it was so draining that I wasn't able to keep up the communication with everyone the way that I would have wanted to. So I started to do the blog, and then just found that there were more people who needed to hear that. They wanted to walk through this and see the hope that comes through that. And so I knew that, you know, if I'm going to do this, then I'm going to be fully vulnerable and fully open and answer anybody's questions about anything they want to know that I can tell them. And so that was for a season. That was for about a year. And then after that, I speak about breast cancer, but there's always a tie-in to kindness. And many times when I speak about kindness, there's always a tie-in to those big black dots, the diagnosis, the disease, the death, all of those things.
Yeah, because I think when I heard you speak, it was an event the hospital was holding for women's health, and it was tied into around breast cancer, but you really tied it into the kindness that people showed you and the kindness that you actually sought out to keep out of your own funk from breast cancer.
Yeah. And, you know, if you have any people tuning in, Melissa, that are going through something really hard, like a disease, like a diagnosis like that, I think sometimes right away, if we have this group of people that come and they want to set up a meal train, and they want to, you know, they're giving, they're helping. And it is sometimes, because I am a proud woman and maybe you are too, sometimes it's easier to say, I got it, I don't need your help. You know, or maybe you're going through a divorce and, you know, you're now raising a couple of children as a single mom. You know, it's easy to be like, no, I got this, I don't need your help. And you want to prove to everybody you can do it. But I have a friend named Tammy Lane Joy, and Tammy, really interesting story. She was an Iraqi war veteran and had bipolar depression, or has bipolar depression, and suicidal tendencies. And she's the one who taught me through her website, Say Yes to Kindness. She taught me that when people offer kindness, sometimes they're not offering it for you. They're offering it for them. So she said on those days when I felt suicidal in my house, she said, I would say to the single mom I knew, hey, can I pick your kids up from school and, take them for ice cream for a little while or something? And she said, when people said yes to me, she said, it allowed me to reroute my day. It allowed me to not be scared of the next 5 hours of my day. And so that really changed my perspective on allowing people to help. And then the other thing was, when those meal trains come in, people want to bring you food. And I always wanted to say, no, 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 no. My kids are picky eaters. I don't need anything. I can't ever repay you. That I had to finally realize, like, this wasn't about me and how many meals we could eat in a week. This was the only way people knew how to be part of my journey and part of my story and part of my healing. And so saying yes to that was really essential for all of us. And what? Sorry.
No, keep going. Sorry.
I'm just saying, the other thing is that people always feel like, well, I don't want to accept anything else because I can never pay this back. Like, oh my goodness. You know what? When you have a big black dot in your life, you get a big pass on paying anything back. You don't have to write a thank you note. You don't have to, pay it forward, pay it backwards. You don't have to do anything like that. As my friend Don Carter says, you don't have to pay it forward or pay it back. Just pay attention. There's someone in front of you who needs you. Yes.
And that puts a whole new perspective, I think, on people showing kindness, because you never know that maybe their kindness is because they need to do something. They need to feel like they're useful.
Yes, absolutely. I totally believe that.
Okay, let's talk about your Hallmark. You're on Home and Family a lot. I get so excited when I see you on there.
Me too. It's the best in the whole wide world. And I'm so excited because I found out they're going to be, they were just re-upped for another season. And so I'm really happy because, with COVID, you never know what's going to happen. And we are just in such dire need of good news, safe TV, just happiness that it's always a delight to know that the Home and Family Show is there. But that all started because my daughter, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, started sewing little coffee cup sleeves so that, your hand doesn't get too hot when you hold your cup. So she ended up asking people to give a donation to get one of those. And the first year she raised more than, $5,000. Wow. The second year was 11,000. And then by then she was giving the money to the Susan G. Komen Foundation. And so by then the national headquarters of Susan G. Komen found out about it. And a company helped her get them into Walmart as a seasonal product for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so Walmart ordered 206,000 of these. And at that point, the Hallmark Channel was like, oh, okay. Like, here's an adorable little girl who is, I think she was 12 when we went on the show. Now she's 16. And they invited us in and treated us like superstars. And, it was a once in a lifetime experience. And of course, because I was there with her, I mentioned that I happened to write about kindness.
You plugged yourself in there?
Just kind of slid it right in there. Yeah. So I've gotten to go back 3 times. And I was going to go back right before COVID struck. I was going to do an interview about, COVID was just kind of beginning, and I was going to do an interview about keeping perspective in times like this and when we're in our homes and things. But at that point, the show production stopped because they needed everybody to stay home, right? So so I'm hoping to get back out there soon when the Negativity Remedy comes out.
So where do they film it at? In California?
It's filmed in California, and it's filmed on Universal Studios property. So it's really super duper fun because I don't know if you've ever seen the show Superstore. I think it still runs. It's an NBC store, but they have Superstore is about a store called Cloud 9, I think it is. And so the whole big Cloud 9 building is right there. When you drive in on the back lot, you can see it. And it's really so fun. One of my favorite shows was Oh, this is terrible. It has Kristen Bell in it and
The Good Place.
The Good Place. Thank you. I'm like, ugh.
My daughter's a big Kristen Bell fan, so that's the reason why I know.
Me too. Me too. I love her. So the Good Place set is right next to the set where Home and Family is filmed. And so I got to, you break. So I got to walk around in the town square of the Good Place next to the Froyo store and all that. It's wild. It's wildly fun. And I feel like a girl from South Dakota, like, what is this? What am I doing? But yeah, it's special.
Now, when you started writing, did you ever dream or imagine that you would be where you are right now with the podcast, with 3 books, with Hallmark? You were even on House Hunters. I mean, I was like, wow.
And The Price is Right. Did you know I won a car on The Price is Right?
No, I did not know that. See, kindness is contagious.
I went out to do the Home and Family show. The last time I was out there, the time before the last time I was out there, it was in February of last year. And I went out and I wanted to do something very LA that was really free or cheap. And so I got tickets to The Price is Right. And I ended up on stage and I won a car. So when you say, did you ever imagine? Yes and no, because I have a really deep faith. So I feel like God and I go on daily adventures together. And when you live life like that, it's impossible to feel like you can't do something, because I feel like God can do anything. So why wouldn't he help me win a new car on The Price is Right? Right. And whether it's little things or big things, I walk with him. So I feel like, of course, neat things are going to happen. I have that perspective now that I never had before. And as far as the podcast, I never imagined doing a podcast. I never imagined writing. I'm not a writer. I never consider myself a writer. But when I look back at what has happened in my life up to this point, I see so many things falling in line. For instance, I was Miss Wisconsin in 1997. So I learned how to speak in front of large crowds live. I became a television news anchor. So I learned how to work in front of a camera and to think on my feet. I ended up doing some radio things as well. So that helped with that. And then I started, when I was a television anchor, I was also a producer at different points and a reporter. And so I had to learn how to write and to tell a story. And so I look at all of those things that have happened, and they all fit in to the plan that God had for my life. Now I'm telling you all of the good prep. But when I talk to people who are going through things, especially, high schoolers or younger people, and they just feel like, why am I in foster care? Why am I hungry? Why do my parents not have money to help me do these sports? I always say, God is not punishing you. He is preparing you, because someday someone is going to need your story. So for instance, when I was in 3rd grade, I just got off the phone with my mom a little while ago. She's amazing. And I have to remind her, Mom, every choice that you made for me as a child was preparing me for what God had later. And so my mom fell in love with a prison inmate when I was in 3rd grade. And shortly thereafter, I was the flower girl in the prison chapel wedding. And I would actually go into the prison and I would visit with her husband, and, my mom and I would go visit him. And so you look at that and you take that one little thing from way, way long ago, and then you fast forward. And I last year had a little boy, well, not just last year, but for the past several years, have had a little boy that's very good friends with my teenage son. We met him when he was in 2nd grade, and now he's going to be a freshman in high school. His mom has been in and out of prison. And the only person who could take him to visit her, because of transportation, because of other legal snafus and things like that, the only person who could take him to see her was me.
Wow.
So who knew that even that would prepare me to be able to help someone else someday? So for anyone who's walking through something hard right now, like, you are not being punished. If you're like, oh, good for you, you were on House Hunters and you won a car, it's so nice of you to go on an adventure with God every day. It's a choice to take the pain and the joy and put them together and say, God, I give all of this to you. What can you do with it? Instead of just holding that pain just for me. Because if I hold the pain just for me, I can have it. God will let me have it, right? But if you can match it with that joy and put it together and give it to him, he'll work it. He will work it.
Well, I love that. And right now we got to pause for a little commercial break, but we'll be right back.
Hey y'all, welcome to Summer Sunflower Fields at Odom Farming Company. We'd love for you to come visit with us. We're open Tuesday through Thursday and Sunday from 4 to 8 and Friday and Saturday from 4 to 9. $5 admission includes a visit with the pasture gang, the playground, the beautiful fields, and 3 flowers to carry home. So come see us at 1426 Claridge Nursery Road, Goldsboro. Check out our website, odomfarmingcompany.com, or follow us on social media. We sure hope to see you soon.
Now, I'd love you also tell the story about your mom in Kindness is Contagious, and how you finally gotten to where you didn't have such a great relationship with them because of what's the word I'm looking for? Because of the relationship with her husband, you ended up living with your dad, and now, being able to forgive and have that relationship that you have with her now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know, Melissa, how faith-based your show is, but this is
faith-based. Yes.
Okay, I was going to say, because this is a pretty faith-based, I might listen to people who don't understand this, but if you stick with me, I think that you can see how amazing it all is. But when I started this whole journey of kindness, when I was really looking for kindness around me, I would go into the grocery store and someone would say, oh, I know you. I saw your picture in the paper. You're that kindness lady. And it just felt like the wrong title for me, because I knew how much bitterness I still held deeply. I still knew that my mom would call and I couldn't have soft, gentle words for her like I should. I just couldn't engage the way that I desperately wanted to. And that's on me. That was my perspective. It was, she had long ago asked for forgiveness and just said she wished things were different. I mean, she long ago tried to make amends, and I just couldn't quite make it happen. And so when I got to that point and I realized and I could see that bitterness in me, I did the only thing I knew to do, which was to say to God, you love her. And I really, really want to love her. So show me what it is. I mean, of course I loved her. She was my mom. But, just to get to the point where I liked her so much and I respected her so much, I just said, God, show me what it is about her that you love. And shortly thereafter, I think my heart was just more open to ask questions of my mom and say, why did this happen? And what happened leading up to you meeting this inmate? And, what was life like for you as a kid? And I learned a lot of things that reminded me that really we're all broken and trying to make our own way. And sometimes we slip off the path without even meaning to. My mom never imagined what this would all entail. And I wish she was on here with you. I've done videos with her before, but because when you look at her, just kindness exudes from her eyes and her smile and her heart. And she really was the first person with her work as a teacher for English as a second language. She was one of my very first teachers, because in our little town of 5,000 in Wisconsin that we grew up in, my mom was the one who taught all the people who couldn't speak the language or who were outcasts in this small town. And she became just dear, dear friends with people. And she still does that. She still is teaching English as a second language in Florida.
See, I don't know if you were able to research any of my background, but my husband, so he's really cute right there. He's in the background. He's a native of Mexico. So English is his second language.
Oh, that I did not know, that it was a second language. Okay.
Yep, English is his second. He came over when he was 16 years old looking for a better life. And we had a chance meeting 26 years ago. We had a chance meeting, and it was one of those Hallmark movies, love at first sight. Like,
was it really?
Yeah, really.
Oh, did he have family here at the time, or was he on his own?
He had some brothers here, but that was about it. So it was like we were both kind of in our early 20s when we met. So it was like the right moment at the right time.
And how long after that were you engaged or married, or?
We were engaged by December. We met in June, engaged by December, and married the following April.
That's my husband and I did the same thing. It's like, boom. Oh, that's precious.
Now let's talk about husbands. Yours obviously is very supportive because you're going all these places and speaking all these, well, not right now because of COVID, but you're speaking all these places. So he's kind of have to do the dad thing, single dad thing when you're gone. So let's talk about that, because I know he's got a really hectic work lifestyle too.
He does. He's a basketball coach, college men's basketball coach. And right now we're at Northern State University in Aberdeen, South Dakota. And so that's a Division II school. Last year, for the past, 12, 15 years, he's been coaching as a head coach. We've been at Division I schools, so going to the NCAA tournament and all those kinds of fun things. And it takes a lot. It requires a lot out of a person to be the one in charge of a big program like that, there's a big fan base, there are boosters, and everybody wants you to win. And so what is a game for everybody else is definitely a livelihood for the coaches. But he loves it, and he's made his career out of it. And from the day that we were together, the very first day, Saul's my husband, Saul and I grew up in Wisconsin in this little town of 5,000 together. I was in 6th grade and he was in 8th grade when I totally fell in love with him. And we didn't date until I was 22, 24. And so I was very persistent for a long, long time. But my family had moved and things like that. But we got reacquainted in my early 20s, in our early 20s. And I knew from that first date that he loved basketball, that he wouldn't be able to breathe without coaching basketball and being around those young men. And it was just really inspiring. And I knew that I loved my career in TV, but I also knew I could walk away from it and it wouldn't be a big deal. And so we decided right away early in our marriage that we would follow his career path, because whether you're a basketball coach or a TV anchor, to move up, you need to move. And we couldn't both be on the hunt for moving, right? And be entertaining those possibilities. So we chose to follow his career path, and it worked out fine for me. I was able to get TV jobs wherever we went. And then at one point I just decided that I was ready to be done with that. And I wanted to be at home and raise my kids. And I just felt like there was a different sort of calling for me. And so that ties in with the 9 years ago when I was so, I just had tried for so long. I thought TV was my purpose, but it wasn't really as fulfilling as I thought it would be. And, nothing quite filled that hole. And so, I stayed home, and shortly thereafter was when I had this kind of epiphany about kindness, and I started writing the newspaper column. And then people started asking me if I would come and speak about kindness. And so then I got really interested in doing research on it and that sort of thing. And little by little, it just kind of grew into something that I couldn't let go of. And my husband saw that change. He saw the change that occurred in our household when our household became kinder, gentler, less chaotic, less dramaful. And I think he appreciated that, but he also knew that this wasn't a frivolous idea for me. This wasn't something I was just going to do to be cute and to be fun. That this was something that I just believed so strongly and I couldn't let go of it. And at that point, the kids were a little bit older, and he was really just so great about saying, this is your time. This is your time. You have to go. You have to travel. You have to go speak. You have to share this message. However that looks, we'll make it work. And so we have, and it's just, it's been really neat.
That's what you were saying about the anchor job. That was God setting you up once again, using your story and taking you through that. So you knew later on you were going to be speaking in front of people. You were going to be writing. You were going to be touching other people's lives, because honestly, when I heard you speak, you touched my life. And I'm hoping that now people hearing you speak now through this broadcast, that you're touching their lives as well.
Yeah. I like a guy named Bob Goff an awful lot. He has a book called Dream Big, and Love Does, and Everybody Always, and he's all about kindness and love and that sort of thing. But his latest book that just came out, Dream Big, asks 3 questions. Who are you? Where are you? And what do you want? And when you think about those, I was like, okay, well, who am I? Like I'm pretty solid in my identity as a daughter of Christ. That makes sense to me. I am a child of God. Got it. Where are you? I'm like, I don't know. I'm kind of here and there. I'm speaking, but I'm not speaking, and I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I can get into those moments a little bit. And so to be able to identify that and say, I'm in limbo. I'm in a place of transition right now in my life. And I know that just before this next book comes out in September, like I know this is a point of transition. And then the final question was, what do you want? And I don't know about you, Melissa, but that question always stumps me, because I feel like I don't know. Like, I don't really know what I want. I want people to know about kindness. And so finally, after a lot of deep searching in my heart about that, I realized that what I really want is to reach every single person that God has destined me to reach. And that's it. If that's 1 or 1 million or whatever, but if God is looking out for someone else and he wants me to speak to them from him, then I want to be there. I want to make that happen. And so, that really helped me to really own the fact that, yeah, you know what, God does use us to help each other. And that's what I want to do.
Now, are you still writing the column since you've moved?
I am. Yes. Yeah. We've had 3 moves since then, and it still runs in newspapers in North Dakota and Minnesota.
So it's kind of syndicated a little bit. Do you think maybe it may go national?
It is syndicated just through the company that owns the papers. So it's through it's called Forum Communications. So it's through their Forum family so they own it. They bought the rights to it. Yeah.
Now let's talk about the new book coming out, The Negativity Remedy. That's coming out, you said, in September, but you can actually pre-order on Amazon, and I'm scrolling the link right now for you so people can go.
Well, you know what, Melissa? If people want a big deal right now, like I'm a big saver. I like a good deal. If people go to bakerbookhouse.com, it's 30% off your first 20 books. Like 30% off. And then if you order 20 or more, like if you're going to do it for a book club or a Bible study or something like that, then it's 40% off if you order 20 or more. So that's a pretty great deal if people pre-order it before September. And then the other thing that I'm so happy about and I'm super excited about is I'm going to do virtual drop-ins to any group that buys the book. And so, if there's a book club or Bible study or business group, whatever, anybody who gets this book and reads it as a group and emails me, I'm going to do a virtual drop-in.
Is there extra cost for that, or just buy the book? Oh, wow. See,
No.
Not many authors do that.
Free. Just read the book. And you know what? If I could give the book away for free to everyone, I would do it, because I believe in the message in this book so desperately to change people's lives. But, Baker Publishing says we have to charge for it. So Sorry, everybody, but we can get you 40% off if you order 20 books.
Yeah, I will say, I think it's kind of funny that I got the Kindness is Courageous because Contagious, because I had the Courageous one I bought at the event. Did not know that until I was like, wait a second, did I already have this book? I'm like, no, I had the other. So,
you bought that, huh? That's cool. I love that. I thought that was planned, but no, good.
Let's see. We have a comment about pre-ordering. You said pre-order Nicole's new book and save big, The Negativity Remedy, Unlocking More Joy, Less Stress, and Better Relationships Through Kindness, and will be shipped September 1st. And there's the link going up there.
Okay. That is Sarah. Sarah Tashin is a kindness warrior. She's part of my kindness team. I have 3 women who keep the boat afloat, I guess. I don't know. They just make, because if social media were only up to me, if scheduling, booking, speaking events was up to me, if sending out contracts was up to me, it would never happen. So
yeah, I know how overwhelmed I am right now because I'm booking everybody and turning and coming up with the questions and emailing everybody out. So I know how much more overwhelmed you would be.
Yeah, right. And so I'm doing that I'm trying to find people for the podcast and that's even just staying at home. Once you try to move yourself anywhere else for the live speaking stuff, it becomes, it's like a whole bunch of cords plugged into your TV and you're trying to figure out which one goes to the Nintendo and which one goes to the VCR and the whatever. That's, but luckily those 3 women, I mean, yeah, they're absolutely a gift to me.
So how did you find these 3 women? So we're going to give them accolades right now. So how did you find them?
I prayed them into existence.
I love that.
I was sitting in my house probably 4 years ago. This is right after breast cancer. And I'm getting a lot of speaking events and I've got, a lot of requests for things. And I'm sitting there and I actually literally went to counseling. I went to therapy because I lost my joy in what I was doing. I was like, I have no business running a business. I don't know what I'm doing. And I want to give up. And I had a really good therapist and she talked me off the ledge, helped me look at a long-term what that might look like to continue to go or to quit. And I just threw my hands in the air and I said, okay, God, I want to keep doing this, but I can't do it alone. So if you want me to keep doing this, please send me someone to help. And I knew, I'm certainly not a visionary. I don't get visions from God frequently, but I was sitting in my prayer time with God and I saw 3 women walking toward me. And I was like, well, that's great, but I don't recognize any of those women. I can't see their faces. I don't have their phone numbers. I don't know who to call to say, hey, God said you're supposed to come work with me. So I just kept praying for these 3 people to show up and they did. And one of them happened to be someone who was in a Bible study with me who had just retired and ran a business forever. So she's great with finances. Her name is Teresa South. And so she was like, I want to help you with contracts and invoices and things like that, the business side of it. And then I spoke somewhere and several months later, a woman who was in attendance, Sarah is her name. Sarah got in touch with me and she said, I was really touched by your message and I want to work for you. And I said, well, that's great. But I already have one person working for me for free. And so I can't pay you, it was embarrassing, but I said, I'm not generating enough income to really pay you right now. And she said, I don't want to be paid. I want to volunteer. Okay, you can volunteer. And she has a marketing background. That is her thing. She knows how to get people excited about things. And then we had a 3rd person and her name is Andrea Tice, and Andrea lives in Iowa. And so we've got Ohio, Wisconsin, Iowa, and South Dakota. And Andrea heard me speak at a breast cancer event, and she got in touch with me and just was there offering assistance every time to the left and to the right. She was just always there offering assistance, offering prayers, offering words of encouragement. to me and to the team. And so finally, when we had a third person on the team who was wonderful, but just got so busy with life, she had to step down. So then at that point, we asked Andrea to join us. And, so now they get paid when I get paid. So everybody works on commission, which is what a lot of speakers do. So I still feel like they're volunteering, but
wow. I got chills when you talked about the vision of 3 women walking towards you. That is just like so God sent, of course, but
it is. It's the truth. And I wish that I could conjure up images every time I wanted something and say, hey, let's make this happen. But that's not the way it works. I know that to be mature in faith means that sometimes you're going to just struggle. Mm-hmm. And that's the truth. But boy, I could not do what I do without those 3 women.
And I'm so glad that you gave them their props too, because they're on top of it. I will tell you that much.
Yep. The reason you got a book was because one of them sent you a book. If it was up to me, it would still be on my counter like, oh, I got to send that to Melissa.
So I can thank them for my birthday present.
That's right. Exactly.
So what's coming up for you next? I know you have the new book coming out, but with COVID-19, it's kind of, your speaking engagements aren't really, unless you're doing Zoom calls. So.
Yes. And so this weekend, I'm moving into a new house across town. And then we are setting up a virtual office for me with proper lights and, cameras and microphones and all of that stuff. So we'll have all of that ready to rock and roll. I am doing a few in-person events coming up this fall in South Dakota. Things are a little bit different in South Dakota because we're such a small population of a state. So I'll go to, let's say, Huron, South Dakota, and speak to 400 teachers that are getting ready to go back into school, because we will be doing live in-person school in South Dakota. And so we're doing that. And, I've got a couple of breast cancer events coming up, women's health events coming up that will be done virtually. And so I'm looking forward to that. It'll be fun. I'm hoping that the passion and the love that I have for them and the transformation that can happen in their life, I'm hoping that can come through the screen. But I just have to rely on God to make that happen.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm going to ask you this, but you probably don't know, any chance you're coming back to North Carolina anytime soon? Because I would love to hear you speak again in person.
It's not on the calendar, but I'd love to have it on the calendar. And, the interesting thing is that we, when we were looking at the negativity remedy coming out in September, the whole plan, Melissa, was to do a 10-city tour. And so that would have brought me back to North Carolina and a lot of the places that I have spoken before. And I was so excited about that. And then, now it's just not possible to do. It's just not safe to do that sort of travel. So that's why we're doing these free club calls, so if you happen to have a book club or you have a group of girlfriends who all want to read it or guys can read it too. I will definitely be popping in for as many of those as I can get to.
Yeah. I actually have a group that it's called a mastermind. We're 3 other women, and we're like, help each other out in businesses and stuff like that. So immediately I thought about you as we were chatting. I'm like, I would love to have her come virtually speak at one of our Zoom meetings.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That sounds fun.
Yeah. So I will.
The wave of the future. We'll do it. No problem.
Yeah, definitely. And so new podcast, when does that come out?
We begin season 4 of the Kindness Podcast in September. It's kind of after Labor Day. I'm not sure what the date is on that one, but we have a new podcast every Thursday.
Every Thursday. Wow.
And a new Kindness column every Friday. So people can look for that too.
And the Kindness column that you can find where?
The easiest place to find it is on my website, and that's braveandkind.net.
Okay. because I have your website, NicoleJPhillips.com. Will you
Same.
find it off that too?
Same. It's the same. Both of those places go to they're just two different titles for the same website. Sometimes Nicole J. Phillips, people are like, okay, wait, is there an H? Is there one L or three L's? Or, you know what I mean? People get confused about how you spell it. So that's why braveandkind.net is the other one to say.
Yeah, I want to thank you so much for joining me today and for taking the time out of your schedule to come on the blog cabin and see the blog cabin to chat with me.
You're a rock star, Melissa. Like, yay. And to think you busted through your anxiety to make this happen. And now you're helping people, you know, just feel welcomed and loved and inviting them to the blog cabin. That's just so cool. I love it. So thank you.
And if you're ever in Goldsboro, you are more than welcome to come and tour it in person, because I know I gave you a quick tour before we actually came on camera, but it doesn't do it justice.
No, I'm sure not. I'll bring a blow up mattress and I'll stay there.
The only thing, it does not have a bathroom. I have to go inside the house for the bathroom, but it has a TV, air conditioner, heater, everything else. So
I love it. Love it.
So thank you so much again. I am truly honored that you said yes when I reached out and asked you.
Thank you. Thank you for asking. And many blessings to all of your followers, everyone who's watching this. I just know that you are valued and your kindness matters.
Bye, guys. Have a kind day.